You did the surgery on the brain?
I had spoken to you, before and after surgery. It was probably a while back.
Yes, sir, I
And
remember.
I think you spoke to my partner, Dr. Richard Menger, as well over the weekend.
Yes, sir.
All right. We just I have Dr. John Simmons here. He's the director of trauma critical care, and he's also very actively managing his compromised health condition. And we just wanted to meet together and define the goals of care, and wanted to talk to you about her clinical condition. So just a quick summary of what I in this situation, what I think is obviously she's had this devastating bleed, which is, behind her original bleed, which we took out. So this is kind of like a new location, new brain, and which is a gain bled. And the reason she bled is because we have her on anticoagulation, and, she's had some micro strokes, which probably, are raw, and they're prone for bleeding if you start anticoagulation, which we kind of like knew to begin with. But, it's the risk versus the benefit, and, unfortunately, she's bled again. The good thing is that her eyes are open spontaneously, but, she's able to follow commands intermittently with blinking eyes, but not really moving her left or the right side. And essentially, she has this feeding tube and a breathing tube, and she's able to move through, kind of like nod, or at least acknowledge through eyes, blinking, but not really moving her arms per se or legs per se. And, obviously we decided not to do surgery, and I think that was the right thing to do because, it's going to open up another surgical site for potential bleeding. And this is, I would say a bigger bleed than before. And if we restart anticoagulation, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it's gonna probably bleed again, in that location or somewhere else. And so, essentially it's hard to keep chasing, the bleed surgically, especially if there's no significant change in her clinical condition. It's not that, she was using her left side, like just normally or eating through that, and now she's not doing that. It's not that. Pretty much after the first bleed, she's being devastated in terms of, her moving range of motions, unfortunately. So I agree that doing another surgery is just not the right solution, just because we're like kind of, tied in this anticoagulation spring, and we really can't do much about it. Now, at this time, we probably would not be able to restart anticoagulation ideally till 1 month. Is there a better answer? No one knows, and I don't personally know, and not even the literature. There's no solution to this specific solution into the literature which talks about this specific scenario. It's a very generic studies which we come across. No one really covers this, detailed clinical scenario which we have in our hands right now. So what I would say is 1 month is the right answer. Could we start baby aspirin in about 2 weeks? We can take that risk. Is it worth taking? Probably yes, because if she again strokes out, I don't know if she can handle any more strokes, to be honest. But then obviously we're going to take the risk of, some sort of bleeding down the line. If that happens, it may not, but that's just a risk. So from my standpoint, I would say obviously there's nothing much surgical which we can accomplish. If she was actively dying from this head bleed, we would probably, take the bleeding clot out and decompress her brain. But she's awake, intermittently, and she follows commands with her eyes intermittently, not moving her arms or legs. And, that has been the case for a long time. So that's my perspective, and I'll let Dr. John Simmons talk to you from his perspective.
Yes, sir. I also have questions and some answers too.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead? What are your questions?
One, I've been doing a lot of research myself, and my uncle has around 160 to 180 stents all out throughout his body. He's a World War II veteran, and he had brain bleeds and blood thinners and everything like that. And they have given him some other type of blood thinner that does not cause brain bleeds, and I can't remember the name of it, but my aunt knows what it is. Also, somebody sent me a thing called Zona Health. It's something that is new, and it strengthens your veins in circumstances like this where you would have a brain bleed, and you use this Zona Health. It takes some time to do it. It takes days or weeks of using it every day, but it's some kind of device, and it strengthens your veins so you will not develop another brain bleed. That's an option. Also, there is a Birmingham Marfan's specialty clinic that may have some of the answers y'all are looking for. And also, Sarah was 2 days ago, she was following my commands to squeeze her hand, close her hand, and blinking yes and no for me. And I noticed that she's a lot more reactive to me when she hears my voice, because it's something that's very familiar to her. And she's got a lot of trust and love for me. And I don't want to lose her, because she will regain movement and stuff. The problem is the blood thinner. Everything y'all have done so far is to fix her, and then she gets back on that warfarin, and it causes a brain bleed, and it's just repeating itself over and over again. So there has to be another solution. There is a solution. The third thing is, there was a neuroscientist in America that removed a head from a monkey and put it to another monkey's body. One of the bodies died, one of the bodies lived. The U.S. government kicked him out of the country. If something like that can be done, then I know my wife can be saved.
Yeah, to answer this question, it's unethical for us to even think about the surgery, because there is absolutely no data that can happen. There's actually an Italian neurosurgeon who attempted this and has not been successful. If you Google head transplant Italian neurosurgery, you'll kind of learn the critical part of it. It's something which is probably going to happen like maybe 50 years from now, but it's the head transplant. I'm sorry, I understand your concern and willing to try all these things, but the head transplant is not an option. Sorry.
No, I don't want to head transplant her. I wonder how she is, but I've seen a report of where it was done before, and if something like that can be done, I know she could be saved.
As I said, I mean, if you look into the literature for head transplant in Italy, that's the only neurosurgeon who has been. I've been on a lot of conferences, and this has been presented before with like a lot of I would say lack disgust because of lack of preparation of the neurosurgeon. It has not been well thought about. It's not an option right this moment. We will probably do more research and probably get to it in about decades, but not unfortunately not this time of our lives.
Yes, sir. Look, I want to keep her alive as long as possible, and I want to until we find a solution. I have no choice but to trust in every one of y'all that are there, and I know you're doing everything you can. And I need her to live.
My granddaddy is praying.
I got my grandpa praying for me. Everybody's praying and stuff, and then all y'all are working and all that stuff. But I need to. We need to keep her alive. She wants to live. I've recorded her through Skype, and I have several videos of her saying that she wants to come home. She wants to live, and she wants to keep fighting. And I know she can, and I know it's going to be hard for y'all to understand, but the way the neurons are firing in her brain, she's so tough and strong. She'll start regaining movement if y'all just keep taking care of her how you are. And we're going to have to find a different solution other than the warfarin, because the warfarin seems to me that's what keeps on making her have all these brain bleeds. There's got to be something else that can be used instead of that.
Yeah, so Edward, this is Dr. Simmons. I think that she's incredibly lucky to have somebody like you that cares so much for her, and I can't tell you how much we appreciate that. We don't always see that, so she is incredibly lucky to have you. And just to echo your comments, we also want her to live, and we are doing everything that we can to make sure that happens. And so we're in no way trying to do anything that would jeopardize that for sure. And you're right about the warfarin, right? It's clear that her brain can't handle it. She keeps having bleeds after that, so that's not going to be an option. We do all these different anticoagulant medications. We use all the time. You know, we are the only major stroke center around here, and so we're very familiar with all the different therapies that are done here and everywhere else. And so I would say that we are on the cutting edge and understand that. The problem with any of these things that make you bleed, any of these anticoagulants, if they work at all, then that's what they do. They make you bleed, and some of them make you bleed more than others, certainly. But that also means that you're less likely to have clots on those valves, which is the problem that we're trying to prevent. And so, out of all of them, aspirin's probably the least likely to make her bleed in her brain. And so, in a couple of weeks to a month, we think that it's probably worth trying to start that. But anything more than that at this point, we think will kill her. And so that's why we don't want to do those things at this point. It's for the exact reasons that you said, because we don't want her to die. We don't.
I don't want her to either. And I watched a YouTube video of a procedure y'all did on her brain, opening her head and going in there invasively and removing the clot. And I know it was a lot of work. It's an unbelievable process, and I praise y'all for being able to do something like that. But it's and I don't really want her to have to go through that again. But I know y'all can save her. Like I said, my uncle, Dale Gandy is his name, in Ocala, Florida. He's got 180 stents, and they got him on some kind of blood thinner. I'm going to try to get a hold of my aunt and then get back with y'all and tell y'all what it is. Aspirin, as far as Sarah is on, it calls her a bleeding ulcer in 1999, and that needs to be taken into note as well. Also, I was speaking with another neuroscientist. I don't know who it was, but if we can get her under control and everything, and she is in a complete vegetative state. There's been research done in the 40s, 50s, and 60s on a drug, LSD. I've never experimented with it myself, but I know there's a Birmingham facility that would legally administer that under practicing to see if it fires all the neurons in her brain, because it does when you take it. And if that would make her recover functionality or functionability with her limbs and everything, it's another option. So I'm willing to go to any extent. And also, just so y'all know, I've only got a 4th grade education, and I've worked hard all my life. And me and my wife has worked hard for the last 10 years trying to build a business, and we got into ball pythons. I've got about $250,000 worth of ball pythons, and I'll be producing close to $500,000 a year after taxes as soon as I get breeding them. I've just been stressed out because of this. And any of y'all that can save her, I don't care if it takes me the rest of my life, I will pay you whatever the price. If it takes me my whole life, I want her to be saved, because no money amount matters to me. And I know she's on insurance and stuff right now like that, and I'm not even talking about the hospital side. If y'all have to reach out to other countries and find out some way to clone parts or something, legal or illegal, it don't matter. I will pay y'all personally the rest of my life if I have to. I cannot lose her.
Tell her what I'm taking.
Yeah, it's certainly not necessary to pay us, and I appreciate your love for her, as I said before. I think that some of these things may be things that you want to explore afterwards, after she's more stable and after she gets out of the hospital here. But right now, those wouldn't be options anyway in the acute phase after this recent bleed. So those may be something that you want to look at further down the road, though.
Yeah, she couldn't handle that right now because hallucinogen may cause some kind of a brain bleed herself. I don't know that much about it. I just know that it fires all your neurons. But I do know she needs to stay alive, and the only place she can stay alive right now is with y'all. But I did say, I can see her when I'm watching her. I seen her having a stroke, and I told one of the night nurses that she's having a stroke, or she's having a brain bleed. And then I got a call the next morning that she had a brain bleed, and that's when y'all had to go in and cut the hole in her head. And then they said they're moving her to the 6th floor. And I told them as soon as they move her to the 6th floor, she's going to have another brain bleed. And then she did.
You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, redial it if you want.
Hey, can you hear me? Well, that's fucked.
I want you to tell her.
I will.
What
I will.
medicine I'm using.
I will.
Her telephone must have cut off.
Trying to get them back now. Trying to get them back now. If I can.
Please leave a message.
This is Edward Tyndall calling you back. We got disconnected. Only got 1 minute on here. Y'all see what I'm fighting with. I'm reaching out to any extent that I possibly can to save my wife because she's all that matters. And they're calling me back now. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, Edward. Somehow we lost you there. We just wanted to call back and make sure that you didn't think we hung up on you.
Yes, sir.
So I guess to close, we just wanted you to kind of understand what the plan was moving forward, and get everybody in the same room to talk to you. That way you got all the information and were able to ask and tell us everything that you wanted to. And I guess moving forward, I mean, she's as stable as she's been, and so we're actually thinking of moving her out of the ICU today or tomorrow, and go ahead and get physical therapy and everybody working with her as much as possible.
You putting her back on heparin?
No, we're not.